In today's video, taking a look at the North York condo market in Toronto and comparing it quickly with downtown. Why has it gone up so much and what are the prices right now in North York? Let's get to it. Hello everyone, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty Inc. As always, back with another video for you guys here today. Feel free to find my contact information in the description box with regards to my Gmail, my Instagram, and my office and my TikTok. I post different types of content, what I'm showing to clients, what I've sold, what I've bought. Also, you can get in touch with me via Gmail and my office information as well if you have any further questions about anything discussed in this video or if you have any general inquiries whatsoever. Lastly, feel free to subscribe, comment, rate, and review. And the link to my newsletter is in the description as well. Enough of that. Let's get to the point of today's video, which is taking a look at the North York condo market right now. Because I've commented on this in passing in previous videos, and I've been making note of it to clients as well, where North York is quite frankly one of the areas I'm seeing within the city of Toronto on all fronts, but particularly in terms of the condo market, that has seen the greatest activity and the greatest demand, and where sellers are making the most money selling their condos. Namely, I start to notice this trend with North York in terms of the hotness of the market in North York, late November to obviously to the time of recording of this video, which is February 1st. I noticed a great uptick both in terms of the quantitative, looking at the average sold prices, going through listings in North York, seeing what things were selling at per square foot and above asking in different buildings. And furthermore, from the qualitative, working with clients, buyers and sellers. There was a time, of course, where North York condominiums, as compared to, for instance, Midtown and downtown Toronto, were far less expensive, both in terms of per square foot and overall price, but not only far less expensive, but also less competitive, wherein people who were being priced out of Midtown and downtown would take their buying interests into North York. Now, most people purely know North York as being Yonge Sheppard and Yonge Finch and maybe upwards of Yonge Steeles, although not many condos closer to Yonge Steeles. And that is certainly where you find some of the more pricey options and where some of the better buildings are closer to those intersections. But you know, North York, obviously, in terms of the condo market, as we're taking a look at it today, we're looking at C7, C14, C15. If you're not familiar with those codes indicate, you can find it on the Treb maps. The link to which is in the description. It goes all the way east to close to Bayview Village and Fairview Mall. Now, taking a look at the average sold price of a condominium in North York from December 1st, wherein I previously stated, obviously, that I started to notice the uptick in North York, the market activity in North York, the great shift of demand towards North York earlier in November. But let's just put the start date for the sake of simplicity in December 1st until January 31st. So we're really looking at the last month of 2021 until the first month of 2020. And let's compare those prices to last year in the same period. So December 1st of 2020 to January 31st of 2021. When we look at the former, we saw that from December 1st to January 31st, so December 1st of 2020 to January 31st of 2021, the average sold price was $609,000 across all condominiums. In terms of how many sales that was 499 sales. Now, the thing you have to consider with North York is that it has a larger share of older options that carry with them obviously higher carrying costs. And by the way, these older options are not highly depreciated, are actually quite good options for a lot of end users. The maintenances will be higher, closer to 80 cents to 85 cents per square foot, but amazing buildings, great property management, and well built. Nonetheless, you know, these older buildings that make up a larger share of the total condominium inventory in North York, particularly closer to C7, of course have an impact of carrying down the prices. Similarly, you had a lot of development occur, not simultaneously, but in a short time span towards the eastern side of North York, more so towards Don Mills and Fairview Mall and such. That was not necessarily bad quality, but less quality, clearly more budgetary condominium options. And those are obviously newer, they're not old, but also those kind of do have an impact of carrying down the averages. The way I like to put it is the condominiums near Shepherd and Don Mills, past Shepherd and Leslie, around that area is like, and this is not a perfect analogy, right? There's a lot of differences, but in a sense, they're like these Liberty Village or City Place condos of North York, right? Once again, not a perfect analogy, but it should somewhat get across the message as to what I'm trying to convey. Point here is $609,000, right? Last year, but when we compare it to the same period in 2021 to 2022, so December 1st of 2021 now until January 31st of 2022, we see an increase of $125,000 in average sold price year over year. That is a 20%, I believe 19.57, 19.6, something like that percent increase in average sold price year over year. And once again, I don't just go based on the numbers. Working with buyers and sellers, I've seen how competitive North York has been. For instance, when I was working with a buyer, we went in on a property on Shepherd that received 16 offers. It was a good condominium, but 16 offers, that's something we see for freehold properties. I actually was looking into a freehold property with a client 2 days ago, and that received 31 offers. That's its own story. 16 offers is not something you saw, let alone for condominiums, but condominiums outside the downtown core. For a Shepherd and Bathurst, in this case, in this example, for a Shepherd and Bathurst condominium, 16 offers, I hadn't seen that before. Furthermore, on the selling side, just last week, I sold 2 condominiums that I made mention of in my previous video. One $130,000 above asking. Of course, it was a bidding war, but frankly speaking, if I'm being quite honest, the buyer overpaid for what I sold, and obviously my seller is happy because I got him better price than market value, but nonetheless, it was a unit right at Yonge & Shepherd, mere seconds away from Yonge & Shepherd, and $130,000 above asking. Once again, it was not something regularly seen in North York. Furthermore, another unit I sold, which was not even a bidding war, we were just pricing it around market value, and we just happened to get a lot of interest, and we sold it above a market value. That one we sold for $20,000 above asking. So why is this happening? Why is there so much interest in North York all of a sudden? Well, for the longest time, particularly Yonge & Shepherd, Bayview and Shepherd, Yonge and Finch, Bayview and Finch, for the longest time, I actually thought these areas were superior to Midtown. Now, I might be the minority in that sense. A lot of people, in terms of proximity to downtown, in terms of centrality, prefer Midtown condominiums. Here, particularly in Midtown, we're referring to Yonge and Eglinton, for instance. I personally always thought Yonge & Shepherd was more superior, and not only in terms of build quality, and don't get me wrong, you do have your poor options there, but also in terms of lifestyle. Yonge & Shepherd, North York condominiums tend to attract, in terms of tenant base and end user base, more qualified tenants, older working professionals, and family. Once again, this is general, right? You have all types of tenants everywhere, bad or good. Point here is, not only do you get to be in the city of Toronto, be close to a subway station, but you also get a better end user lifestyle in North York, particularly around Yonge & Shepherd, than you do as compared to Midtown. And not to say Midtown is struggling by any means. Prices in Midtown are obviously higher than North York. But what we're seeing is more attention from the buying side of things given towards North York condominiums than previous years. And large portion is a lot of people saying, you know what, downtown, I don't want to live downtown for personal reasons or budgetary reasons. Midtown, we'll skip Midtown, we'll go to North York. And obviously, since where it is on the map, it is near the end of the boundary, the northern boundary of Toronto, because technically the municipality of Toronto ends at Steeles, right? So North York is the closest to the end of Toronto, but while being in Toronto, it's the next community up off the bench, for lack of a better word or analogy, that buyers will take their business to. With North York, you have a highly residential area. So for instance, Welldale East, Welldale West, Newnham West, Newnham East, these are communities within Yonge and Sheppard, Yonge and Steeles, Yonge and Finch, that are highly residential. A lot of detached, freehold properties, semis, and townhomes. And really the condominium construction is very much so focused on Yonge, Bathurst, and Bayview, right? But in the more central regions of North York, you have these tall skyscrapers, tall residential buildings, condominiums, surrounded by, of course, on Yonge, all types of shops and malls and amenities, but also a lot of residential streets. And these residential streets have multi-million-dollar properties. Welldale East, for instance, you can't get anything less than maybe 2.5. You have a highly residential area surrounding a high concentration of condominium inventory along Yonge and Bayview. Now, in terms of per square foot prices, and this is average across all condominiums that were sold in 2022 now, right? We're no longer accounting for the first, or rather the last month of 2021 in terms of December. Just 2022, the per square foot price average across North York is $913. Now, sometimes, as I say, per square foot prices for resale is harder to derive because first and foremost, not all sales have a actual legitimate, it's a lot more complex to derive accurate square footage for listings as it is just the average price, right? But to the best of my ability, it's around 913. Now, if we are to compare North York's growth in the same period we discussed earlier in the video, so from December 1st of 2020 to January 31st of 2021, and then comparing that to the same period, but from 2021 to 2022. If we make the same comparison to derive rate of growth for downtown Toronto, here just looking at C1, as a comparison, we see downtown went from $689,000 in average sold price to $822,000 in terms of average sold price. Crunching the numbers, this represents for downtown Toronto a growth rate of 19.3%, whereas with North York, we're looking at a rate of growth in the same period, 19.55, 19.57. The rate of growth in terms of appreciation for North York on paper has been very negligibly so higher, but of course, in practice has been pretty much the same. Both have increased 19% year over year in average sold price. Now, of course, we can get into further detail, breaking it down by just bedroom number. So how have one bedroom condominiums in North York fared year over year, and compare that to downtown, and building age and exposure. That's all analysis I always do for clients, but for the purposes of this video, it should be clear to you that North York, both from my qualitative experience as a real estate agent working with buyers and sellers, and from the quantitative of me looking through the numbers, North York has frankly seen tremendous growth and a lot of interest. Anyways, that's Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate, Remax Realtron Realty Inc. As always, you can find my contact information in the description box. Feel free to get in touch with me, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe and stay tuned. Thank you.